Topic 1.7: Organization, Roles, and Responsibilities. A business doesn't just decide what to sell. It has to decide how to legally structure itself, who's in charge of what, and how to get things done at scale. 4 business types. A hierarchy, specialized departments, and outsourcing. That's the whole map for 1.7, the 2 simplest structures. And the trade-off is the same for both: full control, full personal liability. Sole proprietorship, 1 person. You retain full control and all the profits. But you are also personally liable for every debt. If the business goes under, creditors can come after your personal assets. Your savings, your car, your house. Partnership, 2 or more people. Partners divide roles by strengths. But the liability situation is actually worse than a sole prop in one way. Each partner is personally liable for the debts of the other partners too. You can do everything right and still be on the hook for your partner's mistakes. Both structures share one more limitation: limited access to funding. Banks and investors are less willing to lend large amounts to unincorporated businesses, which limits how fast they can grow. FRQ alert. Know the advantages and disadvantages of each business type. Liability and control are the key trade-offs. Step up in complexity. Step up in protection and growth potential, but control comes at a cost. LLC Limited Liability Company. You keep owner control. And the key feature: owners are protected from personal liability. If the LLC takes on debt or gets sued, your personal assets are shielded. The trade-off: still limited access to outside funding compared to a corporation. Corporation, the most powerful structure. Greatest access to funding and growth potential. Corporations can issue stock and raise massive capital. The company itself is liable, not the individual owners. But here's the cost: you cede control to shareholders and a board of directors. They have a say in major decisions. You no longer run the show alone. Protection and growth, but control comes at a cost. That subheadline is the whole slide. All 4 types, side by side. AP exam alert. Know all 4 across 4 dimensions: control, liability, funding access, and growth potential. Walk the columns with me, left to right. Sole proprietorship, full owner control, but personal liability, limited funding, limited growth. You run everything, and you risk everything. Partnership. Control is shared by partners, still personal liability, still limited funding and growth. More hands on deck, same exposure. LLC. Owner retains control, and now you're protected from personal liability. The catch: funding and growth are still limited. Corporation. Control goes to a board and shareholders. The company itself is liable, and you get the greatest funding access and the greatest growth potential of all 4. One pattern runs through all 4. As you move from sole prop to corporation, you gain protection and growth potential, but you give up control and take on complexity. That's the fundamental trade-off. Quick note on partnership liability. It's not just personal liability like a sole prop. Each partner can be held responsible for the other partner's debts too. That's a meaningful difference worth knowing. As a business grows, one person can't do everything. Specialization becomes essential. At the top, the CEO, responsible for overall vision, operations, strategy, and performance. The CEO is the person accountable for everything. Below the CEO, managers who lead specialized departments and report up to the CEO. At the base, specialized employees, people with specific skills hired to do specific jobs well. And in corporations specifically, there's a layer above the CEO. CEOs in corporations report to a board of directors and shareholders. The board represents investor interests and has authority over major strategic decisions. Growth requires people with specific skills. That's why large businesses don't have generalists at every level. They have specialists. 6 departments. AP exam alert. Know the purpose of each one. FRQ commonly asks which department handles a given business function. Sales and marketing, market research, brand management, customer relationships. They find and keep customers. Research and development, innovate products and processes. They build what's next. Operations, manage manufacturing and service delivery. They make sure the product actually gets made and delivered. Accounting, track expenditures, earnings, and financial statements. They keep score. Finance, secure funds, manage use of funds, recommend strategies. They manage the money and plan for the future. Human resources, recruit, train, and evaluate employees. They build and maintain the team. 6 departments, 1 business. Each owns its lane. Not every function has to happen inside the business. That's outsourcing. Outsourcing means hiring another business to perform a function externally. Two reasons to do it: you lack employees with the specific skills needed, or your existing labor costs for that function are too high. The goal is always either increase efficiency or reduce costs. If an outside company can do it better or cheaper, let them. Your business focuses on what it's actually good at. Classic examples: a startup outsourcing its payroll to a specialized firm, a manufacturer outsourcing customer support to a call center, a tech company outsourcing logistics to a fulfillment warehouse. Structure determines what a business can do and how far it can grow. 4 business types: sole prop, partnership, LLC, corporation, each with a different balance of control, liability, and growth potential. Large businesses organize into executive leaders and specialized departments. And outsourcing is a strategic tool. Use it when it improves efficiency or cuts costs. Topic 1.7 done. Now, how does the product actually get from raw materials to the customer's hands? From raw materials to the customer's hands. That's the entire definition. 5 stages. Raw materials, acquired and transported. Manufacturing, workers and equipment turn those materials into finished goods. Warehouse, storage before distribution. Distribution center or retail store, the product moves to the point of sale. Customer, final delivery. Every physical product you've ever bought went through some version of this chain. The coffee in your cup came from a farm, a processing facility, a warehouse, a distribution center, and then a store. 5 stages. Every time. 2 ways to produce. Completely different trade-offs. Artisan production. Skilled labor, attention to detail. Smaller quantity, higher customization. Every unit gets individual care. Think handmade furniture, custom clothing, craft coffee. Higher quality sealing, but you can't scale it cheaply. Mass production. Technology and assembly lines. Larger quantity, lower unit cost. Identical products, high speed, massive scale. Think car manufacturing, fast food, smartphone assembly lines. The unit cost drops dramatically as volume increases. Neither is better. So which one does a business pick? It's not a coin flip. 3 things decide it. First, customer priorities. Do your customers care most about quality, price, or customization? Second, your own core competencies. A team of skilled craftspeople points one way. Capital for machinery points the other. Third, the competitive landscape. What are rivals doing and where's the gap? Selling premium custom products? Artisan. Competing on price at volume? Mass production. Match the process to those 3, and the choice makes itself. Services don't have raw materials or factories, but they still have a supply chain. For a service business, the chain works like this. First, acquire employees with the required skills. The people delivering the service are the product. Second, acquire resources and delivery systems, the tools, platform, or space needed to deliver. Third, deliver the service to the customer, in person or virtually. A tutoring service, a software company, a consulting firm. A hospital, no factory, no warehouse, no assembly line. But every one of them has a supply chain, just built from people and systems instead of materials and machines. Service supply chains differ from goods supply chains. Get it? You need suppliers. How do you pick them? 5 selection factors: cost, quality, efficiency, convenience, and risk. Every supplier decision involves weighing these 5 against each other. But here's what those terracotta warning shapes around the Pentagon are about. The risks. That can blow up your supply chain entirely. Natural disasters and political instability can cut off supply completely. Resource shortages and production errors halt your operations midstream. A supplier's reputation issues damage your brand. You're associated with whoever makes your product. And the bottom line, any disruption delays delivery, raises costs, and erodes competitive advantage. A supply chain risk isn't just a logistics problem, it's a strategy problem. FRQ alert. Identify a supply chain risk and explain how it threatens competitive advantage or profitability. Your competitive strategy determines how you build your supply chain, not the other way around. Low-cost strategy. Mass production, cheaper resources, efficient processes, scale operations. If you're competing on price, your chain has to be relentlessly cost-efficient. Quality strategy. High-quality resources and production methods. Applies to both artisan and mass production. If you're competing on quality, your chain sources the best inputs and uses the best processes. Barriers strategy. Exclusive or restrictive supplier agreements that prevent rivals from accessing the same suppliers. This is a competitive weapon. Lock up the best suppliers so competitors can't get to them. FRQ alert. Given a business's competitive strategy, describe the appropriate supply chain approach. Know all 3 and be able to connect strategy to chain design. Supply chains don't have to be local. They can be local, regional, or global in scope. Going global unlocks premium resources, cheaper labor, better raw materials, specialized manufacturing that doesn't exist locally. That's the upside. But greater vulnerability comes with it. Global chains have greater exposure to political instability, trade wars, sanctions, government shutdowns. Natural disasters in one country can halt production worldwide. The longer the chain, the more points of failure. And disruptions threaten delivery, profits, and competitive advantage. A 2-week delay because a supplier in another country shut down, that's not just an inconvenience. That's lost revenue, broken customer trust, and a competitor gaining ground while you're down. Longer chains equal more power, also more exposure. Both are true at the same time. The supply chain is strategy made physical. Supply chain for goods, raw materials to manufacturing to warehouse to customer. Service chains, employees plus resources plus delivery system to customer. Supplier selection, cost, quality, efficiency, convenience, risk. Risks, disasters, instability, shortages threaten competitive advantage. And strategy drives the chain, low cost, quality, or barriers to entry. That last point is the one to burn in. The supply chain isn't just logistics, it's how your strategy becomes real. A quality strategy means quality suppliers. A low-cost strategy means efficient processes and cheap inputs. A barrier strategy means exclusive agreements that shut rivals out. That's EP4. Unit 1 is done. 8 topics. One big question from the start. How does a business survive and win? Now you have the full answer. What it is, how markets work, what shapes the environment, where ideas come from, what it believes, how it behaves, how it's structured, and how it delivers. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you at the Unit 1 summary. Let's finish strong.